Yes, I'd like to welcome you back. This is Mike with Teacher Tech Tips, and today we're going to be looking at the Virginia Algebra Readiness Diagnostic Test. We're going to show you the basics of logging in, and we're going to focus specifically today on how to generate a student report so that we can take a look at our C.A.T scores and our Strand scores. So with that, we need to go ahead and locate an internet browser. With the VARDT, they prefer to use the Internet Explorer from Microsoft. You can use Google or Firefox, but in this case they prefer the IA. So basically we click on this, takes us to our home page. Now here is where we locate the URL, and we want to put in the address, and that it would be www.vardt.starttest and then .com after that. This basically takes us to the front page of the website, and this is where we actually will log in. Your login information is usually your email address and then the password that you chose. In the creation of your account, when it was sent to you, you were required to change it to a password that you would remember. If you have forgotten that, just send me an email or check with the administrator at that point, and they will be able to get you the reset as it would be needed. So we'll go ahead and log in our information, and for sake of this, I'm just going to go in and take you straight to the front page, was what we would see. You can see here I am using Amherst Middle School and in my demo account to really walk you through this. The first part of this homepage really is specifically talks about the tests that are started and the tests that are completed. This is more of your demographics, just basic information that shows you C.A.T and Strand testing. This is all under the home page. Assignments. When we click on assignments, this takes us into where we actually have classes that you would set up for your students, depending upon what type of class it would be. You can set as many classes up as you want, and you can import kids, take them in and out as you needed. It's just purely for your ability to be able to pull the type of report based on a certain number of student population as you needed. Inventory is more administrative, just shows you the history, but it also tells you how many available diagnostic, what we call units, are available. As you can see here, there are 7, but that number does fluctuate. Reports is really where we will be focusing today, but I did want to skip down and just show you that students, if you're going to look for a student by whether they're active or graduated, in this case all of the ones we are focusing on are active. Also, you can search by grade and also by last name, so you have a variety of ways of finding students that you're looking for as you go through. Test delivery is where we actually go in and we create a testing session. We give it a unique name. This is then what the testing code, that what we call a key, that is actually used for when your kids log into the VARDT to test. They will need this code in order to do that, and this is how we would basically generate that. We'll look at that another day. And then of course users and help are pretty self-explanatory as we go through. So let's go back and take a look at reports, and we can see as we go into here, make a decision about exactly what we're going to be looking for, because you do have these choices as you go. If you look over here in the upper right corner, you see where it says run reports. This is the button that you will push after you've selected the report criteria that you're looking for. Also, it shows that we have 192 students that are in this report section, that basically are that we can pull information of. This should be inclusive of all students who actually were signed up and took the test as we've gone through, but sometimes this number may be off a little bit here or there as we go. You'll notice in the top section where it says test administration, you're going to see pretty much by default the year that we're in will be there, but you do have the ability by clicking on this down arrow to actually see years past. You can see this goes all the way back to when we first started testing through the Virginia Algebra Readiness Diagnostic Testing System as we go through. But what we're looking for is currently this year as we go through. Now, report types, these are specific based upon individual, group, or roster report. So basically what you're looking for is, if I'm looking for a specific student, you would do individual reports, and that will actually print off. Each student will have their own report. If you want this to be a report that can go to the parents, or you want to keep it for your records, individual report would be the way to go. Group report allows more for a group by grade level, by class as you go through, specifically that you'd be able to pull the report from that. Roster report is similar to group report, but it's really specific around the roster that you have. For example, you may have some 6th graders, some 8th graders, and some 7th graders that are actually in a class where you would have a roster for that, and then they would be able to pull that report according to the specific type, as you see here. So we just want to understand how the different types, report types, are as we go through. Also, whenever you select one, you will notice a change in here. Under individual reports, I see where it says home report, and then all teachers. If I go to group report, notice how your options change. And in this case, group reports, I can do a testing summary report, or I can go into, but basically this is a testing summary report as we go through. Now, if you go to the third one, which is roster reports, this gives you a little bit more specific ways of dividing up what you want this to look like as you go through. You can go in by classes or by school. You can look at the testing actually by grade level. As you can see here, you have several choices to look at. And then also it breaks it down to your student demographic filters. So basically, if you had a specific gender, specific race, limited English proficiency, students with disabilities, and then those who have been specifically identified as Algebra Readiness Initiative, and then of course by grade, and then those who would be Hispanic. It gives you all these types of options as you go through, but for the most part, you can see some of these factors. Now, a couple things to note different in this year is that when you look at the race factor, there's a lot more codes than there were in years past. Years past, I think you had 5 codes that were broken down. Here, it's significantly more. I believe it's around 32, 33, somewhere around in there, as far as all the codes that you could actually look at. So you do need to pay attention as you go that direction if you're looking for a demographic type of report. But for our case, we just want to go in and look at Strand scores. So we're basically, if I want to come in and look at an individual report, and I will pull a teacher report, then I can go specifically by the teacher. So if I was to present, say, a student here, a teacher here, like as you see on your screen, notice here over in the right hand corner how it says 86 students. That tells me that there are 86 students that were signed up under her in this database that allows for us to look at the data. Now, there are times when you click on someone and they show up, maybe their numbers are different than we had looked at before, but this basically divides them specifically by teachers as we look at that. So we're going to take a look at this teacher here. We're going to look at all students, and I also know that this teacher is a 6th grade, so I can either go all, or I can specifically set the C.A.T 6 test as the component I'm looking for. So once that's in place, then I click Run Report. Here is where it breaks down each student, and it shows you their first name, last name, middle initial, date of birth, and other vital information. But here we really don't see the report in of itself. So in this case, you would have to highlight a student's information and then tell it to create a PDF. At this point, it'll actually create a file that you'll look at, and then from here, you'll see it in a second. It'll actually shows the report itself. Now, the teacher report is really designed, as it says, for the teacher. what you're specifically looking for here, in this case, as you see here, the variety of scores, we saw that the total score here was around 1440, but in this case you can see the number sense, the different strands as we call it, and their scores as we look at this. Well, in this case, you may have a variety amount here, but what we really want to focus on is not so much the total score at this point, but what the strand is. And you can see here that this test was actually given on August 30th of 2011, and it showed what the strands were. So in this case, we would look at which is the lowest strand. So for this student, we would want to focus on measurements in geometry, which basically shows it's 1390. So as we go through this, what this tells us though is that the student basically, in order to be on task, would really need to be about 1650 to be on the level that we need, but in this case she's not, so we'd want to be able to adjust for that. Below here is also some recommendations for strength and potential weaknesses that are listed for the different strands as you see here, and these are actually the SOLs that could be utilized as far as remediation. The next page really breaks it down, and you can actually see the different SOLs as it pertains to this. So each and one of these reports are between 2 and 3 pages long, so if you want to print them off to give to a parent or to a student, that's fine. It's just you wouldn't want to run all your reports from this because of the cost of to be able to do that. So in a nutshell, when you want to look specifically at strands and you want to identify the strand or of the area that we want to focus on as far as that student weakness, this is where we would go to do this. You could take this data, transfer it to a Excel spreadsheet, and be able to track your students as you go from here. Well, this is basically how you get to a student performance report from the teacher's perspective, and to be able to see that specific strand information. We also will have further videos that will give us specific information on the other avenues, but we sure hope that this was helpful for you, and have a good day. Thank you for watching Teacher Tech Tips.